I've seen guys get KO'd 3 times in one game.
Jeez. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
You have to have the mentality of like, kill or be killed. Bill, he would start to load up your plate and see how much you can handle. They fall apart. Nobody's going to give you anything. You just got to work for it.
So, hey, everybody, happy Tuesday here from the YB Normal Show. Sitting here with my man, Shill, as always. Joe, what's happening? We got my man, Petey Pob, in the studio. What's happening? We've got a fantastic special guest on today, Super Bowl champion, Rob Ninkovich. So, Rob, thank you very much, man, for joining the show. We're just so thrilled to have you on, buddy, and appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, what's up? What's up? Happy to be here.
Happy to have you, pal. So, Pete, let's start this off, man. How you and Rob kind of get cross-threaded here?
I don't know if Rob remembers, but I met Rob. Everybody probably knows I work for Aaron Lewis and the band Stain. Well, Aaron got invited to Matt Light, who played for the Pats. He's got the Light Foundation. He's got a charity. And we got asked to come to a skeet shoot, right? It was a skeet shoot, I believe. Yep. And there's different stations, and they pair you up with a team. So Aaron and I got paired up with Rob and his dad, and we shot the shit all day, literally shot the shit all day. We had a good time and found out that Rob was a fan, like he was a Stain fan. And we kept in contact. He comes out to the shows. And I remember I asked him, I said, hey, so not how were you a Stain fan or why? And he said, I played high school football outside of Chicago, I believe, Illinois anyway.
Yep, Joliet.
And he didn't have not one. He told me, he's like, I didn't get one D1 offer. So I went to junior college and I went in the weight room and I listened to Stain and I got fucking huge.
I did, yeah. It's a true story. I mean, that Break the Cycle, everyone knows that was like the massive hit. And there it is right there, Break the Cycle. So I was just a kid, just growing up in the Midwest and going to the Ozfest at the Tweeter Center there with my buddies. And we used to have a great time. And Stain was just like so critical for me in my evolution as a football player, because I really needed that at that moment. So it's just like anything, you attach yourself to the moment in your life where you were really locked in on something. And I was locked in on trying to get big and strong and listening to Stain every day. So when I met Aaron Lewis, I was like, damn, this is pretty sick.
Awesome.
Just to hang out with him and talk to him a little bit, and hanging out with Pete, and, became good buddies. So when they come this way, we try to make every show, and I try to snag as many posters as I can, because look at those posters behind him. They're pretty badass.
I got extras.
Yeah, he's got a few. But it was something for me as a kid. I mean, I just had really big dreams and aspirations, but nobody was going to give it to me. I had to go work for it. So it was kind of one of them things where I pushed myself to develop myself to get stronger, faster. Coming from the Midwest, football it's a pretty big deal. And, we had great teams. I was just a little bit too white, so I had to go out there and get bigger and stronger and get more recognition. So when I went to junior college, there was this chick too. We ended up breaking up, and her boyfriend was driving a stupid Camaro. And I remember one day I was working out. Yeah, this is a funny story. So I came home from the gym. I get a knock on my door, and it's 3 dudes, right? And I had just literally lifted, and I'm 18 years old, but I'm 240 pounds. Like I was pretty big, right? Yeah. And I go to the front door, and I'm like, "Can I help you?" And the guys look at me, and they look at each other like, "This is the high school kid."
Surprise!
I was like, "What's up?" And my dad comes to the door. He's like, "What the fuck do you want?" Because they thought like they could just come and rough me up or something, but I was twice the size of all 3 of them. So. The actual kid was in the car, and they walked back to the car. They're like, we're not going after that guy. He's going to rip our heads off. So I put on a little epiphany. After that, just to relax a little bit. But yeah, it was just one of them things. Like, I love football. I didn't have really any opportunities after high school. So I went to Joliet Junior College. It was right down the street from my house, really. So I was going to school every day with 40-year-old moms that were trying to get their associates in arts, and working out in a old horse barn, which was really weird. Literally, it was a horse barn that they turned into a gym, and humble beginnings, and then slowly but surely things just started working in my way, and got a full ride to Purdue, and everything kind of took off from that point on. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I got to the NFL. My rookie year, I tore my ACL, MCL, PCL, meniscus, the cartilage, the whole thing in one shot. So that took me out for a couple of years. But it was just the internal fire inside of me. I just couldn't take no for an answer. And I remember, I was trying to get to Purdue, and I kept sending Purdue my tape. And Joe Tiller at the time was the head coach. And he literally called me back, because I called like 12 times. I left 12 messages on his office phone. He's like, "Kid, can you just send me your tape and stop calling me?" I was like, "Of course I can." So I sent him my tape, and they offered me a scholarship like right after that. So it was kind of like the persistence in me. I mean, shit, my wife said no 5 times before I got her number, right? So it's just, I think it's just drive in myself that I've always had at a young age. Because I go back, I just had like a friendly get together with some of my buddies from high school, and they all still are kind of like, "How did you play 11 years in the NFL?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, I didn't quit like half of you guys.
Right.
The majority of it is just staying uncomfortable. I really think that the key to success is being uncomfortable. And, most people that are really good at anything, they really don't count their victories. They just look at their losses, and they try to look at those and learn from them and push themselves. And if somebody was to say, "Hey, Rob, what are your 5 favorite plays?" I honestly, I probably couldn't tell you. I could probably tell you all my bad plays though. So it was just kind of the one thing about me that I think set me apart from a lot of kids my age. I didn't let other external factors influence me. Like when I was a kid, I used to just tell kids to screw all the time. Like, that's not going to help me get where I need to go. So that was really, I don't know. I don't even know where I got that from. It was just, I think at a young age, I made a decision, and I wanted to achieve a goal, and I didn't want anything in front of me to cause me to have regret. So I just kind of sacrificed that time and effort. And, playing 11 years in the league, there's a lot of shitty times. You're going to get hurt. You're going to have somebody tell you you're not good enough, and they cut you. I was cut a few times. But then it just makes it that much better, when you're looking back on everything. You look at all the grinding, and you appreciate stuff more. That's for me, another crazy aspect to guys that, they play a long career, but unfortunately they didn't put in the right amount of time and effort into their finances, and they got really nothing to show for it. And, I don't think there's anything worse than somebody that plays 10 years in the league, and they kind of had a bunch of yes men around them, and they just did whatever they wanted. For me, it was kind of like I kept my circle small, and people that I trusted, and people that were, had faith in me, and kind of kicked everyone else to the curb, which was a really big part of my success.
Rob, this is Chris. I got a question for you. You touched on something I think is really profound. When you were talking about just that persistent and that attitude and that drive you had, rather, in high school, getting to junior college and having to bust your ass to get to the NFL. Literally, as we're sitting here listening to you give this story of your early days in life, if I'm a GM on the other side, I get why you're a New England guy. Like, you just sound like a New England guy. Does that make sense? I mean, it's like this fucking guy's talking. I'm like, dude, that sounds like every cookie cutter guy at New England. It's like, we work hard, we don't bitch, we don't complain, and we win. And if you don't like us, then fuck off. I mean,
yeah,
and I love that.
And I love that.
Well, I mean, Bill Belichick, being the hard-headed coach that he was, he would always say, "I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your contract is. If you can help us win, you can be here. If you can't, you're gone." And that was pretty simple. So, I always had really old school coaches my whole career. So I didn't have any of this new school, like soft, hey, how are you feeling today? Any of that shit. I had, you must have jelly donuts in between your ears because you're soft today. It's just stuff like that.
Right.
Like I never was coddled. And I had Bob McDougall, Hall of Fame head coach at junior college. I went to Joe Tiller at Purdue, older guy. I get drafted by Sean Payton, who is a descendant of Bill Parcells. Then I went to Miami with Bill Parcells, and then I went to New England with Bill Belichick. So it was like all these coaches. My first year with the Saints, I actually was drafted to New Orleans, and it was the one team that I didn't want to go to. And it had nothing to do with the head coach. It just had everything to do with Katrina in '05 had just destroyed the city. They were a terrible organization. Historically, they were always pretty bad. So my mom asked me the day of the draft, what's the one team you don't want to go to? And I said, well, I don't want to go down to New Orleans. Like that place looks like it's just a bomb hit it. So that's the way fate had it. I actually got drafted by the Saints. And I remember driving to New Orleans. And when you get on I-10 there, you kind of go over some bayous and some swampy areas. And as I'm driving along with my dad, I look over and there's a whole house on its side, like in the swamp. I'm like, damn, that's kind of crazy. Then we keep going. The closer you get to Airline Drive down by the facility there were 30 feet, like mounds of trash in the median. That's where they had pushed all the rubble and all the crap from people's homes and stuff. And I was like, man, what am I getting myself into? And they didn't even have a facility at the time. So they had made us go to Jackson, Mississippi for training camp. And it was at Millsaps College, which they didn't have any turf. They didn't have any grass fields. So we had to practice on turf, like the old school AstroTurf. And it was like 130 degrees on the turf. It was like the crazy. And that was back when you had 2-a-days, 2 practices, 2 3-hour practices, 6 hours on the turf. And Sean's whole mentality that first year was we want to get every single cancer out of this team. Like anybody who was here prior, we're going to kill you guys. And whoever's standing, like that's who we want to move forward with.
Wow.
And, I didn't stick around very long because I tore my ACL and that kind of sidetracked me. But, when I made the team, our whole draft class, we had, Reggie Bush, who played 10 plus years, Roman Harper played 10 plus years, Jari Evans, he's a Saints Hall of Famer, played 10 plus years, myself played 10 plus years, Zach Strief played 10 plus years, and Marcus Colston is all-time leading receiver for the Saints. We all were in that same draft class, played 10 plus years. So we had like 6 guys played 10 years.
Wow.
Like that's
unheard of. Yeah. That's unheard of in the draft.
That's a home run draft class. So Sean, he talks about that draft class. That was the mentality he was looking for when they drafted that group of guys. Kind of like similar in a sense of productive, tough, discipline, and willing to do what's best for the team, not necessarily yourself.
Right.
I think that's a big thing that kids, especially young athletes, need to realize. Unless you're, an MMA fighter, a boxer, where it's just you. When you're on a team, you got a football team, a collective unit of guys. Training camp's supposed to be like boot camp. You're supposed to go into training camp and lose your identity. And that's why it's hard. That's why, you go into boot camp, they shave your head, your name's changed. It's not your name anymore. They're not calling you by your name anymore. It's, hey, shave your head. We're going through camp because you're not worried about yourself. You're worried about the guys around you.
That's right.
And you work as a team. And that was the same mentality as Bill, because I think Sean and Bill were with Parcells, and that's how he would build teams. From the foundation, from the base up. And another thing Bill would always talk about is, you could build a home, you could build a beautiful mansion, but if the foundation is not good and it's falling apart, it doesn't matter how nice the house is, it's eventually going to fall down.
That's right.
It's all about the base, the foundation, and then you work your way up from there.
Yeah.
And that's how our great teams were always built.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the Mount Rushmore of coaching. I mean, the Parcells tree. I mean, you get the Sean Paytons, you get the Belichicks, you get all these guys that we know today, and you're like, holy shit. So when you learn from those three people, they're ambassadors of the game. They only know one way, and that's winning, period.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit if it's 15 guys or 55 guys. We're going out there and we're going to win. And to be able to come, you know, from the college ranks to getting into that professional, even though New Orleans, obviously, the circumstances, I remember being in the military, it was horrible down there. And so they needed a savior down there. And that's why Drew Brees and a lot of those guys became the city saviors during that time, which was beautiful for not only that city, but the National Football League. But, you know, but playing for those minded people of winning, that's like, you know, the John Woodens of the world. You only get those guys generationally. Those are once in a lifetime guys. And so, to be able to get that experience, I'm sure just had to be unbelievable as a rookie. And then going into 10 years of the National Football League.
One thing that you guys ever hear the paper plate analogy?
I have not.
All right, I'll tell you what the paper plate analogy is. Okay, so, and this can go for any athlete. This could go for any person in any business. Say you go to a picnic, right? And you walk up to the line and you grab a paper plate and it's one of them shitty flimsy ones, right? You can only put maybe a little bit of pasta salad, maybe a little bit. You can't put a whole piece of chicken on it. The plate will fall apart, right? So you got to be careful on what you put on the plate. Well, the plate is kind of representative of any football player. They can handle so much and then it falls apart. But then you have guys that you get when you walk up in the front of the line, you see that paper plate that's got the sections in it and it's pretty hefty. And you can put as much as you want on it, and that thing's not going to fall apart. That's kind of how Bill would evaluate players. He would start to load up your plate, right, and see how much you can handle. And then once you started to fall apart, he would back you off. He'd back off on, you know, maybe how many reps you were taking or what packages you were in, or if you were on special teams and playing defense. You know, I think in 2010 or 2011, we played the Giants and we lost the Super Bowl. But after the Super Bowl, Bill came up to me and he was like, hey, and he doesn't ever do this ever. He was like, hey, you handled everything we gave you this year. And it was pretty impressive because I played every snap of defense and I played almost every special team snap. I played almost every snap that whole year.
Wow.
And from that point on, he really kind of didn't say much to me. Like if I made a mistake, he would just say, hey, Rob. And I'd say, I know, I got it. You know, because he knew, he was like, I could fill his plate up. I could put everything we possibly can on that plate and it's not going to fall apart. And that's the same for, you know, I see some guys, they're given too much responsibility and they just can't handle it. They fall apart,
Right.
You know, and that was kind of, you know, the way I was as a player is I embraced all the shitty stuff. Like, hey, I got to run down on kickoff. All right, cool. Perfect. This guy doesn't want to do it. I love it. You know, hey, it's punt team. I was on punt team for 11 years, you know, my whole career. And when I was a starter on defense, you know, Bill was like, hey, punt's one of the most important one of the most important plays in every game that nobody realizes is punts. Because if you screw up a block and you get a punt blocked, the game's probably, your chances of winning are very slim. So he's like, I need you to play guard and tackle forever. And I'm like, all right, I can do that. And that was kind of like the thing that I loved, that they could give me a ton of roles and I would learn them. And then at another part of my career, they'd be like, hey, you're going to be a defensive end on one snap. Then you're going to go to linebacker on the next. And on third down, you're going to be the buck, like the guy that we call the rushes and stuff based on formations and where the back was and all the slides and all that. So I was like, all right, cool. I could do all that. And I personally loved it. Some guys hated it, you know, but I loved kind of give me more, give me more, give me more.
I feel like if they do that to you, it makes you feel like these fucking guys trust me. Like, they know what I can do. And I'll take more on my plate, that plate you talked about. And I feel like it gives you more, you know, like I know that they're going to come to me and I'm here and they know that we can go to Rob because he's the guy. He's going to handle it. He's never going to say no to us, and he's also not going to let us down in that role. And I think that's amazing, man.
Yeah, 100%. And when I had my knee injury, it was my rookie season. It was actually the Superdome opening game. So I don't know if you guys remember, Green Day was playing, the Saints are coming, and it was, a big deal down in New Orleans. And we were playing Atlanta. It was like the biggest moment. That's when Steve Gleason blocked a punt. And it was like the loudest recorded play in history on how loud it was.
I think it was Sunday Night Football, right?
It was Monday Night
Monday
Football.
Night Football. That was some crazy shit.
It was crazy. So I actually got hurt in that game after that play, and I was going in on defense, and that's football. Like I was running down kickoff, I hit the wedge, and I was in a wrong spot, and it got me, right? So from that point on, I just it's weird in the NFL, and just like anything in the fight game too, like when you get beat or when you get hurt, they move on to the next guy like instantly. So,
100%.
Before that, and I learned a lot at 22 years old because I was 22 when that happened. Coaches that used to say hello to you, they just walk right past you. Like they don't care. Players that are in your position are like, all right, well, more playing time for me. So you have to have the mentality of like kill or be killed. And if you do get hurt, like it's up to you to get yourself ready to go. And 1 year from that injury, I was back. I was great, and I refused to wear a brace. Like I was good. And then I tore my other knee, right? It was just got rolled up on. I couldn't see it. It happened from the side and somebody just fell into me. And I was like, damn, man, I couldn't catch a break. And then Sean Payton, this is another crazy, like my story is wild because it just doesn't happen to people. He came up to me after that injury. He's like, hey, we love you. We want you here. You're good. So that one in particular, I just tore my MCL. It was a grade 3 MCL. So it wasn't an ACL. I'm like, all right, I'll be back in 2 weeks. So I come back, I tape it, I put a brace on, and we're the first opening day of 2007 was in Indianapolis against the Colts on a Thursday night game. So I traveled with the team to Indy, sitting there at breakfast, and Sean sits down. He's like, hey, we're going to cut you right now. This is at the game. They cut me at the game. And I'm like, all right. So he's like, yeah, just, come to the game, stand on the sideline. Like nobody gets cut and stands on the sideline.
No
That
way.
just doesn't happen.
What?
Yeah. So then that's a Thursday night game. I got claimed by Miami that night, and their first game was in Washington playing the Redskins. And so literally I got back from the game at like 4 a.m, literally get on another plane to go to Miami, and then they're traveling to Washington Saturday. So I was on 2 different teams, for week 1 of 2007. And that 2007 team sucked in Miami. They were 1-15. They were the worst organization, worst ran thing I've ever seen in my life. And that was before Bill Parcells. Bill came in 2008 as the president, and Tony Sperano was the head coach. And that was the year that they made the playoffs. But in 2007, it was like Cam Cameron and all these idiots. It was just insane, And I couldn't even get on the field. I'd go ask the coach, and they would kick me out of practice for going too hard against their starters.
This is some Rudy type shit. Only Rob's 6'2", 250.
I thought we were playing football.
Yeah, no shit.
Some teams, there's a reason why some teams never win.
Right.
Like, think about it. There are teams or organizations that no matter what, every single year, they suck. They're
Cleveland. Fuck.
Because it starts at the top, but then there's also contracts in place. So like if you paid somebody to paint your house and they're the ones that got the money, you're not going to let somebody walk up behind them and say, hey, I'll do it for $5. Like you're like, hell no, I want the guy that I paid to do it.
Right.
It's like that around the league. Guys are either drafted high in the first or second round, so they have money behind them. They got to play. Guys get a big contract. They got to play. And it's just like hard to break into that unless you got a coach that doesn't give a shit. Like Bill would just be like, I don't care. The year that I started Adalius Thomas, they cut him and gave him like $10 million. It was because he had guaranteed money, and they were just like, we don't care. Like, we're going to cut you because you're not
paying the problem to go away.
Exactly. Like he didn't care. It's just like, all right. And that was, in 2009, we had a bunch of snow one day, and Bill would always say, I don't care if there's 10 feet of snow outside. If it's 8:00 meetings, you better be here at 8, be here at 7:50. So he was late for a meeting and then said something in the media like, I didn't think we were children. And then that was it. They cut him.
Gone. Gone.
So there's organizations, we just gave this guy $100 million. He sucks. I don't give a shit. Put him on the fucking field.
Exactly. 100%.
That's garbage. That's not a winning mentality. I paid this guy. I paid you. You better get out there. But we're going to lose, but I don't care. See, listen, I'm not in that realm. I don't pay people $100 million, but I want to win. And I think it would be better to say, you know what? We fucked this one up. We're going to take this one on the chin because I want to win. I want a trophy. I don't want this guy on the field just because he's getting our money. Figure it out. Give him his dough. Get rid of him. Make this better.
Do you know who the highest paid player for the Denver Broncos was last year?
No.
Russell Wilson.
That's right.
Makes sense. Shit.
He was sitting the bench on the Giants.
He was sitting the bench on the Giants, and he was getting like $36 million from Denver.
I'll tell you what, one of the smartest businessmen, and I don't know if it's obviously, maybe it's him. It's got to be partly him. You guys probably work with your agents, but fucking Kirk Cousins.
Oh my God! I thought that was an April Fool's.
This guy has got, and listen, he's had some, he had a couple good years, but he gets paid and paid and paid. And I don't know if he's a finance major or good Lord, good for this guy. I mean, Now he's on the Raiders. I'm sure he didn't, he's got dough. He's going to be fine.
Which Pete only helps him out because now not only is he taking this third $100 million contract, now he's moving it into a Nevada corp, for a fact, retires money in Nevada and chill, dude.
He's not too worried about it.
No, he's done awesome. I mean, my God. Wow.
Hey, Rob, so 2014, 2016 Super Bowl champ, correct?
Yep.
Was there one that meant more?
Oh, of course. The first one. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you got to think too, with the way that my career went, I got hurt, then I got cut. Then I had to make it on the Patriots, kind of figured out my role. Then it increased and I was a starter. The first full year of starting was 2010, which was the first year that we lost to the Giants the second time. So 2007 and 2010, we lost to the Giants, right? So at that point, like 2010, it's weird because when you're young, you think you have more time. But then as the years kind of go on and you start to see like, oh yeah, like the average career is 3.2 years and I'm in my 5th year. All right. Then you're in your 6th, your 7th. So in 14, I was close to the end. That was my 9th year in the NFL, So for me to win that game and the way that game kind of went, it was always a tough matchup with, you got beast mode, Lynch out there. He's running the ball like a maniac,
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, when he was in his prime, was pretty fast and he can get out of situations with his legs. With the way that game went, it felt like the Giants game. Cause I don't know if you remember in 2010, when we're playing the Giants, there was that crazy Manningham catch on the sideline.
Oh, that was insane.
And there's a term on defense that you never want to hear. And on offense, you want to hear it. It's called Rolex. So if you hear Rolex, that means let them score on defense. So when we called Rolex, you're trying to let them score to give you time to go and get points, right? So we call Rolex and they score. We have about a minute. We drive down the field. We get pretty close and the Hail Mary just doesn't, like Gronk was right there, but I think he had like a broken leg that he was playing on.
Dude's a maniac.
Yeah, right. Offensively, if you call Rolex, if you score, like the coach is going to be pissed, right? It's to just waste all the time. So don't score. When we would call Rolex on offense, it would just mean don't score. Whatever you do, don't score. So fast
hard to
forward
do when you have the goat back there. Anyways.
I know, right? So fast forward to the Seattle game, they had that crazy catch where it was kind of bobbled on the 2. They hand the ball off, the ball's on the 1-yard line. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking to myself, like, am I going to be 2 for 2 having to hear that stupid Rolex? Like, you never want to let anyone score on defense. It's like a mortal sin.
Right.
So, and it just ended up that they threw the ball. We brought in the extra corner. Malcolm made that crazy play. We intercepted on the 1. And then that was
insane.
It was insane. And then my last game I ever played was a Super Bowl comeback. So it's 28-3. We're getting our asses beat. We go into the locker room, and it was, I get that question a lot. Like, what was the environment like in the locker room? And it's
right.
When you're at that, in that game, and you're at that level, it's more of a, let's just not get embarrassed here. Like, let's make this somewhat of a respectable performance, a respectable showing. The first half was not at all what we were about. It wasn't us as a team. And it was just kind of a collective confidence. Like, let's just take it one play at a time. You can't score 20 points in one touchdown. Like, it just doesn't happen. You can't do it. So it's just one at a time. And as you plug away, you could kind of feel like the energy of the Falcons come out of them, the wind out of the sails. They were pretty happy when they were going into the locker room at halftime. And then in the third and fourth quarter, you can kind of see them break a little bit. And, we got into overtime. I never even stepped on the field. The offense took the ball, they marched down the field, and they scored. So it was just kind of crazy.
That was when Julian, I caught it.
Yeah, that was the crazy catch. Yeah.
Me, man.
Crazy catch. And then James, put it in there on the like the 3 scored, right? So it was just crazy. And at that point, I played 11 years, and we know football is not great for you mentally for long term, so it's like I kept thinking to myself, what am I going to get out of 12 years that I don't already have out of 11? I'd kind of proven everybody wrong that didn't think I was good enough. I had exceeded like the length and time. As far as money, I was like, okay, I'm okay. Like, I did well to like take care of my family as a man. Like, that's what our mindset is, like, take care of your family, take care of your crew. And, so I just decided I was going to go through the off season, see how my body felt. And then, that's the one thing that's the shitty part about the league. Every year you get older, there's a new fresh crop of kids that are just so hungry, and they're willing to do anything. Like, they're willing to run through a brick wall, for $100, right? And when you start to make a little money and you start to be established, you start to question that. Like, do I really want to get in there like I used to? Like,
you already ran through enough walls.
I used to be able to hit somebody as hard as I could and just feel fine. And then at the end, I started hit somebody as hard as I could, and I'd be like, "Where's the huddle?" So it was. You just kind of feel it. Like, you feel that time is catching up, and all the hits that you had throughout your whole career is like, okay, I used to be able to bounce right up and feel good, and then now you're like, ugh, I don't feel great. Like, this hurts. And on a Sunday, like a good game, and it was crazy because when you play a really physical game, you can tell the difference between the good teams and the shitty teams. You could play a team that really wasn't that physical. They didn't want to be there. The season was over. They're just looking to get on a flight and get the hell out of wherever they're at and go somewhere. And you just breeze through it, and they're not really trying to give it to you. They're not trying to kill you. And then you play a team like, I could think back to like the Ravens, right? They were always just
tough.
Hard. Like they were always trying to kill you, and you're trying to kill them. And, the 9, 10, 11 years of my career, like I was in, it would take me till Friday to feel good. I'd be like, okay, Sunday I play, Monday I feel like I got run over by a train. Tuesday's the worst part because that's the second day after you feel terrible. Wednesday you're kind of feeling okay, but that's like a padded practice. So it's just, you feel those weeks. It used to be a 3-day recovery, then it turned into like a 5 to 6 day recovery. Then you take a Toradol shot and a freaking Tylenol, because you can mix those, and maybe a little something else, and you go play and start it all over again.
Hey, Joe Schilling.
Yes, sir.
Joe Schilling, speaking on that age thing, and these guys are a car wreck every time, every play. In the fight game, would that come around sooner for you? Because, listen, helmet to helmet, that's nasty, but fist to fucking head, like after a fight, you got to be pretty smoked. I get it. But is there a point where you're like, fuck me, I don't know, like, I mean, you're fighting in Brussels in 2 weeks, right?
7 weeks. 7 weeks. Yeah,
7 weeks.
Yeah.
And you've been fighting for a minute. Like, what makes you say, yeah, I'll do that?
There was so many similarities and so many things that he just said right now. And as far as the fight game and how when you lose one or you start to fall off, there's somebody right there waiting to take your spot. That'll do it for cheaper, And as you get older and you start getting, there's a time when you're broke and you're hungry, you'll do anything. And then once you start making a little money, it's a little. I've always done a lot better when I didn't have any money in my account than when I had 100 grand sitting there. And it's not really. It never came down to like me not training hard enough or me not doing the right things. It's just very different when you have that hunger. And as the older you get and the more times you've done it, it definitely wears on you.
Mirrors what Rob just said, really.
Absolutely.
Really no different, I don't think.
Yeah, think about anything that you've done, everybody, when you're 18, right? Like I fucking jumped a car with like 4 of my buddies. And it was like the dumbest thing you could ever imagine, like jumping a car at 110 miles an hour when you're 18, but you don't think anything can happen to you, like.
So Rob, let's get some shit straight though, dude. Maybe it wasn't you weren't good at football. Maybe you just couldn't academically get into these fucking colleges.
Well, Purdue, when I got into Purdue, this is a funny story.
Purdue's a great school.
Oh, I know. But guess what? I could only be in one out of the whole Purdue University. I could only get into one area of the school, and it was organizational leadership and supervision. That was it.
You're in charge?
That's it. So I get to school and they're like, yeah, you can't get into like any of this other stuff because some of your credits don't transfer, but you could get into, actually it was 2. It was hospitality and tourism management.
There you go.
And it was organizational leadership and supervision. So I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty good at organizing and watching people. So maybe I'll supervise, be a supervisor. But and then I called my mom the first day at Purdue. No shit, not. I called my mom. I go, Mom, I don't think I fit in here. Like there was all these Asian kids walking around that were super smart, that freaking engineering school. So it was a lot of way smarter people than me. I was just good at tackling and hitting the quarterback. I was
going to say, but they weren't on the football team.
They weren't on the football team.
They might have been in the bleachers playing the tuba.
Well, let me ask you a question. Hey, Rob, with that being said, you being a Purdue guy, this Indiana shit's just got to eat you alive. Somewhere deep down, dude, it's got to. It's got to.
The 2 teams that were heavily recruiting me, the number 1 team was Indiana. And I was just like, I don't want to go to Indiana. They're not good. They've never been good. And Purdue wasn't really recruiting me. That's why I was so persistent on Purdue, because they were known, because the time when I came out of college, from high school to college, the whole like undersized defensive end was a new thing. It was that tweener was like a new type of football player. And the 34 defense, which is you have 3 linemen and 4 linebackers, was like becoming the new thing. So it was having like 250 to 260 pound outside linebackers that played defensive end in college. And, Illinois, coming out of junior college, Illinois was like, oh, you're way too small. Like the prototype for a DN that was like an original 4-3 DN was like 6'5", 300 pounds. So when I got drafted, when I got drafted to the Saints, I looked at the scouting, like their whole roster, and I'm like, why am I here? Like, I don't fit what they did, because Charles Grant was a defensive end that they had, he's from Georgia. He was a hell of a football player. He was 6'3", 310. Will Smith was from Ohio State, heck of a football player. He was like 6'2", 290, and I was 6'3", 255, soaking wet, So when I got drafted, I'm like, so am I going to be a linebacker? They're like, nope, you're going to be defensive end. I was like, all right, so I'm going to be a small ass defensive end in your scheme. But that's kind of where that whole Belichick, utilizing smaller guys as linebackers that could kind of do multiple things. It was the perfect fit. And, like anything, there's these opportunities that sometimes are there, and then you get hurt, and that opportunity goes away, and then you move on to another place, but they have either a lot of money in that position or guys that are balling. I mean, when I got to Miami, they had Jason Taylor, who's a Hall of Fame defensive end. I'm not taking his job. And Vonnie Holiday, who was like 6'6", 310. I'm not taking his job. So it was just kind of like the next opportunity for me was with the Patriots, and they had this big turnover after 2008. So they traded away Mike Vrabel. They lost a bunch of their key pieces. Brewski retired. It was kind of like they were going for this youth movement. So at 24, it was like the perfect time for me to arrive there. It was like my opportunity. And basically that's what Bill would say. It's like, hey, you have an opportunity. I can't do anything about it. It's up to you. Like, you have to take it and make the most out of it. If you lose your job or you lose to somebody else, the only person that you could blame is looking at yourself in the mirror, because either you didn't do a good enough job or you made too many mistakes. Like, that's just the way it was. And as the years progressed, they would draft somebody to take my job. And I would always evaluate guys off of just their conditioning. And I would like to test dudes like, hey, let's work out or let's run. And I would just try to kill them. Like, I would just try to kill them, like, with conditioning. Or if we did like anything after practice, I would just go. Because the one thing I could do is I just didn't get tired. Like, I could just go. So these guys would be like drooling on themselves, like tapping out because they got a side cramp, or, sitting down because they got a cramp in their calf. And I'd be like, there's no fucking way this guy's taking my job. Like, no way. And I would know within the first week of being around them.
And you know what? They fucking knew it too.
They knew it too.
What a
They knew it
killer
too.
mentality.
And I'm still friends with some of the guys. And they're like, dude, like, you're fucking out of your mind. And
Hey, speaking of guys that, trying to take your job, when you're in the locker room, this is a two-part question. You don't have to name names. I think the first one you could name a name, and then the second one, yeah, you probably
yeah.
Who was the guy in the locker room? And I guess you could say in your whole career, doesn't have to be the Patriots, best guy in the room, not yourself.
So, the crazy thing about playing 11 years, and when you're with certain teams, you're with veterans. Like, when you're 22, the league has changed a lot over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of gone in this youth movement, and then high paid guys, and then the rest is like fighting for scraps.
Yeah.
But when I first got in the league, it wouldn't be crazy to see a 38-year-old guy like playing, or a 40. I mean, shit, we had Carney, the kicker, John Carney, was like 42, and I'm 22. Like, the guy's got 20 years on me. And, Zach Thomas, right? Hall of Fame football player, the best, right? Inside linebacker, a beast. The first time I ever met and I was his bitch boy, which I loved it. So he would take me in 2007. It was his last year. And I kind of just like do anything he asked me to do. And that's a different thing now. I feel like these kids don't want to pay their dues. Like, I was cool with paying my dues. If he gave me a suit and said, hey, Rook, take this to the cleaners and have it back to me by tomorrow, like, I get it done, like, instantly. If I tagged along with him to a strip club and a road game, like, yeah, you want me to pay somebody? Yeah, perfect. I'll do whatever you want. And we would do that from time to time.
Maybe that's why it took 5 times, dude.
Don't fall in love with strippers in Pittsburgh, okay?
Asking for a friend.
I had no money left in my pocket after Pittsburgh when I was there in 07.
What is this place you speak of? A strip club?
It was just when you're young and dumb, But so Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, some of these older guys that you look up to and you're like, damn, like, they were playing when I was 12, right? Like, they are icons of the game. And then, in 2009, I was next to Junior Seau. And Junior Seau, to me, was like the epitome of idol, right? I had a poster in my bedroom of Junior Seau, like, punching through a lightning bolt when he was with the Chargers. You know, like he was the man, you know. So I think being in that situation, Junior Seau for me was like my biggest mentor. And I was only with him for 1 year, but in 2009, it was New Year's Day, 2009. I'm sitting in my locker. He was right next to me. And out of the blue, I didn't ask him anything. He just looked over at me. He looked at me. He goes, "Hey, you think too much." He's like, "You think too much. I want you to just play and react and let your instincts take over." He's like, "When you start to think too much and you think about like making a mistake or, you know, being perfect, you're going to not be perfect. You're going to make a mistake. You're not going to be as fast." So he's like, "Just play free and stop thinking so much." And then he left. And I was like, "Oh shit."
Then he had you thinking.
That had me thinking. And so we played, this was 2009. We played in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, one of those like turkey games, you know?
Boom.
And right. So I'm playing left defensive. I'm playing left outside linebacker. And on this particular play, I have the back. Like the back is my guy. Junior's behind me and he says, "Fuck that. Fuck that. Don't take the back. Go and get the quarterback." So I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to Junior. I just rush the back wide releases. Junior rushes too. So we're like 2 over the tackle. The quarterback just lofts the ball over me and the running back catches the ball. It was like a 60-yard gain, like
Oh shit.
push him out of bounds on the 20. And they end up kicking a field goal. But as I'm coming off, Bill is like screaming at me like crazy, like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're never going to play if you fucking keep doing this shit." And Junior walks up to him and just says, "Hey, buddy," calls him buddy. "Next play, buddy. I told him to go. Next play." And Bill looks at him and just walks right away. Doesn't say another word to me.
Wow.
That's insane, the clout that dude had. I mean, he's iconic, though. That's an iconic player.
Dude, icon. So, and then
But you were like, in your head, you must have been like, "God damn it. Fuck yes.
No, I was
I'm
like-
fucking reamed over here. You
I'm
told
like-
me."
but like, that's kind of the way, if you were to ask some of my teammates, like, how was Rob in certain instances of playing, they'd be like, he was a fucking asshole. Because if I saw something that I thought was going to happen and they told me, like, say a rip call would be me going inside on the tackle and I see no split, the tackle and guard is tight. I see the tackle looking down and he's going to just squeeze. I'm basically just giving myself up and I'm not going to be able to make a play. So I wouldn't do it. I would say, "Yeah, I got it." Like I'd give them okay. And then I'd rip it and whip it or something. And they'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like, cause then they'd run in and they'd see me there and then they'd have to react. And I always say, just react off of me, play off of me. And there was a couple plays and there's always, Bill would always say, "If you take it, you better make it," you know? So I would always kind of play risky, but I always kind of knew I could diagnose what was happening based on stripes on a helmet, where the quarterback's eyes are, the line, the split, you know, the depth of the backside guard. If he was deep, he was going to pull the depth of the off the ball tight end. Like you could see all that stuff, you know, formations. Like if you just walk up to it and you're like, "Hey, it's 2x2, 3x1, near, far, deuce, you know, nasty, teacup," like all that stuff. It's just like, it just comes to you. And then you just remember all the tape you're watching. Like, "Oh, they're running that."
Rob, it's too bad you're not here right now because Joe Schilling is just like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
What do you mean?
He's like, "All I know is the dude likes to just beat people up on a
Oh,
football
man.
field. He loves it."
I'm loving it.
But you know what though? It's the same. Like in the fight game, for example. I mean, I've never been a fighter, but there's cues that guys give away before they're gonna do something. That if they're gonna load up on something and you see it, you get it before they do it. You know, like there's all
For
these
sure.
little things. Or if someone's gonna shoot on you to take you down, like they like to gather themselves a certain way, and you know, like, hey, they're gonna come. They're trying to shoot on me. Like they're just trying to take me down. Like I think it's the same in all aspects of sport. Like there's always going to be something you could take away from the opponent's mannerisms and how they kind of prepare and how they fight or how they play. And guys could even think about doing it. Another one, for example, when we were playing the Super Bowl against Russell Wilson, so he would be in shotgun and they would run the RPO, right? So that's like the run pass option. He would hold the ball in Lynch's belly and he would read the line and either give it or take it. If he was flat-footed, so this was something we picked up on. If he was flat-footed, completely flat, it was a run every time. And if his right heel was off the ground, it was a pass every single time. So like it was little things that you would pick up on and you'd just be like, all right, you would alert bird or pig, bird means pass, pig means run.
So it's like a tell. It's his tell.
It's a tell. It's just like poker, somebody gives you a
poker,
tell.
And pitchers can tip off pitches.
Same thing. It's like
and watching film is what does that. And going back to, like you said, you're going to know if a guy's going to shoot you, come for your knees. Joe, you probably watch film on all these cats before you fight, right?
For sure.
And certain people fight certain ways, and just because they're fighting you doesn't mean they're just changing their game up. They might bring up one little new move or something, but you've studied this guy, and when you're standing in front of him, you're watching like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah, and a lot of it's not even like conscious. Like you watch the video, you see how the guy moves, and then in that moment, at that split second, your body just kind of reads what's happening. It's not even like a conscious thought sometimes.
Yeah. You just react to it. But then also too, when guys get tired, they go back to they get sloppy. So, when somebody's fresh, it's really easy to correct things or to think when you're fresh. When you're tired and you're gassed and you're like literally thinking that you can't go anymore, like you revert back to like whatever is the easiest way, or all your sloppiness, it goes back. So that's like the really good guys, like the guys that are in really good shape. And the guys that understand that, like they're literally training themselves when they're tired. And Bill would do that with us. He would be like, all right, we're going to do a 16-play drive. Then we're going to do a 2-minute drill, like no huddle. And then we're going to go into our gotta have it. So it'd be like, okay, 16 plays. Then you might have 15 plays in a row of pass rushing where it's an all-out sprint. And then you got to go into gotta have it where you got to use your brain. Like, okay, like, hey, 15 seconds left. We Toro this, which means like field goal units got to come on. Like you got to get your field goal block on, and you got to just like, and it become, when you're really tired and you do it a lot, it becomes, and that's the crazy thing too. When guys get knocked out, like I've seen guys get KO'd, like on a field, get up, and they're in like, they don't remember the whole game. But
that's wild.
Played the whole game and they balled out. It's like it's wild. It's wild because you're like on autopilot. It's so crazy.
And like how many times a season does that happen to those guys? Like how many times in a season do they get knocked out and forget that they played half the game? You know what I mean?
Is this shit half the year, dude?
A lot, right?
Yeah, probably a lot. I mean, so it's the crazy thing is like in football, to get KO'd, like you'll see a lot more KOs nowadays with the ground. Like you see the receivers and they go and they fall and they hit the ground and they're
the
like
back of the head.
Yeah, back of the head, or you will get some friendly fire where your two guys are going for the same ball, and you get hit in the side of the head, and you're on, I was gonna say a certain street, but I don't know if I can say it. But you get screwed up, and then we were playing in Seattle one game. We were playing in, I think it was Seattle in 2012 on the road, and they had this fullback, Michael Robinson.
Oh, he was huge.
Yeah, he was huge. He was a big dude. So I was on punt team and the ball was on the sideline and he just smoked me. Like I was sleeping, right? And then I got up and I went to the huddle and they told me a play and I was like, all right. And everyone's yelling at me. I'm like, what? And they were like, you're not in the right place. I was like, I was off. I was supposed to be the left end, but I was the left off the ball linebacker. And then Bill was like, fucking get him off the field. I came off the field and I needed like a couple minutes. And I was like, oh yeah. I know what I'm doing now. I'm good. I think I've only been knocked out like 3 times, like KO'd, like sleeping. But I've seen guys get KO'd 3 times in one game.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's no way.
So what's crazy? Back before all the rule changes, they used to have traps on kickoff. So you used to be able to I was the trap. I would always trap people. I was the trap guy. So it was really fun. They'd have a double team on an R4. Like, so you have 1 to 5. That's your R's on the right side. Then you got 1 to 5 on the left. So you got 10 guys plus the kicker, right? So you would double team the 4 or the 3, and you would trap somebody. So what you would do is you would hide behind the double team. You got 2 guys coming together. You would sneak and you would just get really low. And that guy coming through the 4 or the 5 that thinks he's scot-free, the second he gets past that double team, like, sleep.
Peekaboo, dude.
Boom.
See you later. Now they can't do that. They can't do that anymore. Like, they changed all that stuff. I mean, they changed the kickoffs, all the
They
rules.
even stopped. Remember the X blocking back in the day, where you could X block across sidelines? They're like, this shit's illegal. I'm like, dude, it's the greatest side block you could ever have in football. And it's like, you're gonna take it away?
You can't even blindside somebody. So, on an interception, usually we would have like a, hey, who do you got? And we'd say, oh, I'll get the tight end. You get somebody, go get the quarterback, because they throw a pick. The linemen, they're always slow and they're not doing anyway. So you don't really worry about the linemen because they can't make a tackle. So you're like, we got to go get the only guys that can make a play. Usually the tight end can tackle, or a receiver. So you'd have somebody designated to just go light them up, That was when you always had to have your, like, whoa, 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 like on an interception, you're like, who the hell's going to get me? Who's going to get me?
What a great line, because the offensive linemen, they're not good.
They're not good at tackling. They're not going to tackle anybody.
Not tackling.
But
a big dude like that, he just throws body at you and you'd be done. I guess not. They can't.
The speed is pretty crazy when, like, that level. It's.
I once stood on the sidelines. It was a championship game, Patriots Chargers in San Diego. We were standing on the sidelines. I was standing right on the end of the bench. Patriots were losing at the half. They ended up winning the game. But It was the first time you watch football on TV. Oh, look how fast these guys are. But the first play of the game, I think Corey Dillon was the running back. And it was a sweep, and it came our way. And all I thought was, it was absolute violence.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
The fastest. I was blown away. I mean, I've been watching my whole life football. Never, been to games in the stands. You see that's a little different. But standing right there on the sidelines, and that play came to us, and I was like, "Holy hell, man!" And then right there, I was like, "We're in a stadium. These are modern day gladiators."
100%. That's exactly what it is.
Absolutely insane. Hey, I asked you that question. Best room in the guy, Junior Seau.
Junior Seau.
Guy.
Yep.
Fight on,
Is there ever a guy in the locker room where you're just like, I can't do one more fucking minute with this fucking guy, man?
Can't do one more minute.
Wearing me out.
So I think there was always the guys that weren't going to make the team that were annoying. Because at the end of the day, like, there's 90 guys on the roster through the whole offseason, 53 are going to make the team. But there are a bunch of guys that you've probably been around guys like this. Like, they know the answer, but they still ask the question because they just want to, like, either have it repeated to them or, it's just like.
They're annoying.
They're annoying. So, like, I would always sit in meetings in the off season and somebody would ask, like, so if you're doing this, like, you're supposed to go in the sea gap, and we'd all just be like, oh my God, shut up. Of course. Like, are you a moron? Like, right. There were always guys that they would just do too much, or just too much, like, sucking up to try and get a leg up, or like get on the good side of a coach. That's another thing too. Them coaches don't give a shit. They're trying to make money too. So they're just trying to get the guy that is going to give them the best chance of keeping their job.
Right. They're trying to be the class pet, not understand, hey, we're all adults in here to make a living. The more questions you ask just makes you look incompetent. Like, you can't be on this football team, dipshit.
Exactly. So, those guys usually don't last, those.
I've also heard a lot of pro guys that maybe guys that give a shit, but like, if their coach gets canned, they kind of feel shitty about it. Like, maybe it was something we did. Like, the coach doesn't play the game. I get that, but I've seen a couple interviews with players where their coach gets fired and they're just like, fuck, man, they feel it. Like, they're they feel bad for the guy because maybe it was, we have a losing season and I'm the one who threw 12 picks.
Yeah, no. Well, you see this a lot. Coaching trees and players kind of they come together and they go together, right? So you'll see a head coach get hired somewhere and then they bring their assistants from somewhere else. And then they actually, if you get cut as a player, they pick up that player and they bring that player along too. So it's kind of like this nepotism of, hey, who you know, and if you've done something for somebody, they're going to help you out. So when you do, with New England, I never had that experience because we were always winning. But, in 2007, when the Miami Dolphins were terrible, I was excited for everyone to get fired because I wasn't one of their guys. Like I came in and specific people told me I wasn't one of their guys. So I'm like, okay, I'm only here because one guy brought me here. And I guess I'll jump into the story, but Rick Mueller was the college scout for the Saints. Randy was the GM of the Dolphins. So when I got picked up by Miami Dolphins, I went into the GM's office and he literally said, not one person, not one coach wanted you to come here. I wanted you here because I think you're a really good player. So when that whole shitty season was going on and I couldn't get on the field, he would just say, okay, when, the staff is probably going to go, but then they all got fired, the GM, the coaching staff. But then I was lucky that Parcells came in. And then in 2008, that was kind of like my transition. They wanted to move me to inside linebacker, but I wasn't an inside linebacker. It'd be like me trying to change everything, right? And they tried to put me on practice squad. You want to hear that story? I'll give you that story. Ready? I know I'm a story guy. So in 2008, Parcells comes in. I'm in the weight room. He walks up to me, puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "Hey, you're that Ninkovich kid, right? From Purdue." I go, "Oh, yeah." And he goes, "I drafted a guy in New England that reminds me a lot of you. Teddy, his name's Teddy Bruschi." And I was like, "Oh, shit. He's an inside linebacker." So I go through the whole training camp as an outside linebacker. I make the team. He brings me in his office. He's like, "Hey, how old are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm 24. He's like, "Oh man, you're young." He's like, "All right, I'm gonna give you a contract, but it's just shaking my hand. It's a man's contract. Shake my hand. I will do the deal. If you walk out, no deal, and we're releasing you." I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "There's the deal. I'm gonna keep your salary the same as an active player." So at the time it was like 400 grand or something. It's like, "I'm going to keep your salary active, but we're going to move you to inside linebacker, and you have to be an inside linebacker here on practice squad for 11 weeks. After 11 weeks, if we don't bring you up, you can go wherever you want." And I was like, "All right, cool." Shake his hand, do the deal. 10 weeks later, they bring me up to play against the Raiders. I didn't play any defense at all. I just was on 2 kickoffs, both touchbacks. The next day after the game is we coming up on week 12. Jeff Ireland is the GM at the time, who's still in the league somewhere. But he was like, we were looking for more of like a Larry Izzo spark out of you. And I was like, Larry Izzo's 5'8". I'm like, I said, "I'm not Larry Izzo." So they released me. I got up, I grabbed my shit, and I went back to New Orleans because they took my contract.
Wow.
So
Izzo was a special teams guy, right?
just a special teams guy. Yeah.
He was vicious. I mean, that guy was down the field all the time. He made a lot of tackles, but
He
yeah,
did.
I remember that guy. Yeah.
So that was kind of like the start of me just being like, you know what, I can't wait, that waiting for somebody else to find a place for me. Like I need to find it myself. And when I get the opportunity, and when I got to New England, Bill was just, "You're an outside linebacker and this is your opportunity." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I made the most of it.
Sure did, buddy. Holy hell.
But I hated inside linebacker.
I mean, you had a clear cut path though. Once you got with Belichick, it was like, "Hey, here's where we got you at. This is where you're specifically going to be at, and we're going to make you the best at this position instead of, trying to make somebody inside linebacker." I mean, just I mean, there's obviously you're a high IQ guy football wise, anyhow. I mean, obviously, I know that led into some shows that you had done talking about football. And so, with that being said, though, there's a big difference when you got to change body style, play style. Even nowadays, you look at the league, these safeties now are 230, 240 playing like backers. It's crazy how big these guys are.
The league has changed dramatically. I mean,
Yes.
linebackers used to be 260 to 250. Now they're 235,
Speed.
Yeah, it's all about speed, and because that's the whole spread offense and the RPOs and all that stuff. It turned into kind of like flag, right? And now there's no pads. So they have 16 padded practices a whole season. I honestly think if I was in the NFL, like if I was a rookie in the NFL right now, it would be hard for me to make a team because of the way that there is no pads, there's no hitting, there's no contact. And I needed that.
Right.
The real football to like show you that I'm a football player versus there's some guys that look really good in shorts, but when they put pads on, they're not that physical or they don't know how to tackle. It's a completely different animal.
Well, let me ask you that question then, a prelude to that. Did you watch any of the Olympics, the flag football? Our Olympic flag football team beat the shit out of our NFL guys. It was insane, dude. I had no idea.
Listen, horse jockeys need to play football too.
Yes, 100%.
Those guys are tiny.
It was unreal.
Those guys are tiny.
Yes, I mean, but
they're also doing like there's no tackling, right?
No, that's what Rob's saying.
So you can't grab their flag, and you had Brady, you had all these studs out there, but when it came down to it, and then you also have guys you can't barely grab a guy, so you got these NFL guys that are trying to grab a flag, but they're grabbing the dude and throwing him on the ground, and now it's a penalty, and it's just like it's a different game. And these guys, could NFL players play flag? Sure. Just take them a minute to get used to it. Could these flag guys play in the NFL?
No, that was my point to Rob. Was like, that's the difference. Like Rob saying, I had to have pads. That's how you can differentiate yourself from other guys saying, no, I'm a football player. This is what it looks like, with pads on. When you watch the guys on our Olympic team, it was like, who are these, dude? It looks like the UPS guy and your next door neighbor who's the lawnmower said, dude, we got the sickest flag football team on the planet. Come watch this shit.
What do you got planned in the future, bud?
So that's the one thing when I walked away from the game, I said this recently, there's only 3 ways you can leave any sport. It's your way.
The other day. Yeah.
It's your way, it's their way, or it's injured.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I went out on my own terms, and I do a lot of stuff locally. I do some media stuff. I do some real estate things on the side, but I really just kind of want to be working for myself, and I don't want to have to, talk to somebody and be a boss over me and telling me what to do. So now that I'm done, it's been 10 years since the last game that I played in, right?
That's crazy, dude.
So I enjoy, coaching my kids and being around the kids a lot. They're walking in right now, so they're
that's awesome, dude.
They probably start screaming and being crazy, but
that.
I enjoy. They're ringing the doorbell. I enjoy the time that I sacrificed, and my body and the commitment of football gave me this freedom. Come here real quick.
Yeah.
Say hi.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
There he is. What's up, bud?
What up? Yeah, look. I try to embrace that, that I've moved past football, and now I can be around the kids and take them to school and enjoy all the little things that I get to do with them. So that's a blessing.
That's the goal, man, behind anything.
Yeah, the kids are, for me, I mean, I travel a lot, so I don't get to see my kids, but more and more when I am here now, I need to be here and engage with them. And that family is probably all it's about. Chris is kids, and Joe Schilling has kids, and this show is really about interviewing guys like you, learning stuff, and
Absolutely.
we're family guys. So I appreciate your time, man. And I'll see you at a show some point, and these guys appreciate your time.
Yeah,
and
Rob, been a pleasure, buddy. Like, we're big fans here, dude, at the YB Normal Show, and obviously just the way you carry yourself, man, you're just a true testament of a tough guy that worked his ass off, made it, did it the right way, talked about your family, talked about how hard work, got you to where you're at in life. And that's inspirational for young people to not only hear, but sometimes for adults to hear that, because we don't have a lot of adults now, unfortunately, on planet fucking Earth. So we appreciate, your time, man, with us here.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and nobody's gonna give you anything. You just gotta work for it. Especially I tell my kids.
100%.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Really appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Enjoy your kids and your family, and we'll see you down the road, bud.
You got it, Rob. Be good,
Thanks,
buddy.
brother.
Be good, man.
Peace.
What a stud, dude. Overall, just the guy's stories were just amazing. I mean, what were your thoughts on it, Joe?
Just incredible. I mean, I think it's a perfect guest for the show and for the young listeners that are listening to the show. This guy came from a bad situation where he had no opportunity, worked his ass off listening to Stained. And, it was like one little, just sitting back listening to it, it seemed like one little success led to another, and they're getting around the right people and then holding himself accountable. It was awesome. I'm blown away by all of that.
P, what'd you think about having Rob on? He's your buddy. I mean, what a great guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
Rob's a great guy. And, Chris, you touched on it, like, you can tell he's a New England guy, even though he's from Illinois, like just the mentality of the Patriots then and coming now, with the new coach Vrabel, he brings that same juice, that same energy. And, when he was talking about, coming from the Midwest, and this is so America, Midwest, like he was working out in a barn, like that was the gym. And that's just dedication. And he also said, he said at some point he was 11 or whatever it was, and he made the decision that, I'm not going to go out on Friday night with my buddies because I have a vision. And I think anyone, and maybe players today are a little different, but back then, all the guys that are in the NFL, they made that decision long ago where they were going to miss being a normal kid, because if you were sitting on the couch, I'm working out.
Right.
This is what drives me, and I'm going to get there. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm no professional athlete, but there's only so many of them. And it's a lot. When I meet NFL football players, I'm 54 years old. When I meet NFL football players or a hockey player or a baseball player that play in the league, I'm like blown away. Like, this guy plays in the NFL. That's amazing to me because of the work and the dedication, and everyone in the country admires these people. And here I am talking to someone who literally plays for the Yankees or plays for the Patriots. And I just think, God, man, like, unbelievable. He's just unbelievable. Rob's a great guy, great career. And I wish him luck in anything he does, man.
When I told Rob about the Patriot way, you feel that shit when you talk to Rob. It was like, man, these dudes talk differently. Like, their brains work differently. Like, it's not, I'm going to do this because this guy's paying me $100 million to do it. It's, I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do, and I want to earn my keep in this league, and I want to be on this team. And he talked about the Zach Thomas and Bill Parcells, not realizing that when I think Zach Thomas played his last years in Dallas, when Parcells got that coach, when they thought that the coach from the Saints was going to be his predecessor, who had Brees and all those guys, who's now in Denver. Freaking Sean Payton. Yeah. So it's like when he was talking about the guys, the nepotism and taking care of each other, you could tell with Rob's career, he was a locker room guy, because no matter what, he only really played for 3 coaches, 1 coaching tree. So they said, you can expect this from Rob. Mm-hmm. There might be some other shit, but you're going to get consistency, and you're going to get a pro every day.
Man, that plate analogy was just
awesome,
off the chart.
How many of us have been to a picnic where we overload our plate? We do that in life. We don't know, like, do we feel blessed enough, or is it not enough blessings, or why do we overindulge in things?
And that plate analogy, when he said, when he said that Belichick will load you up to see what you can handle. I'm sure, Chris, in your business, you have guys that work for you, and you do that to them, and then you're like, all right, this is dude's threshold, like where I am.
Right.
I if you have a production assistant, you just, do this, do this, do this. And then you can see where dude's deficiencies are. You're like, all right, that's cool. That you handle these things. Oh, I'm always going to give someone a job that I know that they're going to nail. Like and same with me. Like if I don't think I can nail it, I'm not your guy. I want it to be done right. And with people that you work with, you can see what they can and they can't do, what their strengths and
Yeah, the
weaknesses are.
limitations.
Well, and the other thing is, it's like he talked about it like with like a pride. Like he wanted to be the plate. He wanted to be the strong plate. You know what I mean? Not the weak plate that was complaining about how they were getting too much shit. Like he took pride in wanting to be that strong plate. I think that's just huge.
I love that too. Same plate, no different dimensions. Just his plate was kept in better service than the other guy's plate. It was sloppy. Shit wasn't together. And that's what it looks like when it is together was Rob's career. And I love how he based his career just with that plate analogy. Like, hey, you know, you start off with a little bit and then how do you start to understand and to maintain, you know, that kind of success for that long?
A lot sharper and smarter mentally than I think
100%
most
high
people would
IQ
expect from a
linebacker.
From a linebacker. But it was really, I loved that show. That was great.
That was a lot of fun with Rob. What a class act, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Follow us, YBM Normal Show, guys, podcast. We loved Rob having on today. We have a great guest, multiple guests coming up next week. We got PD Pablo in studio. Cannot wait. Joe as well this next time. Joe's going to get up in the mix on this next one for sure.
Joe's going to show me how to hit a heavy bag.
Yeah. He asked me last week. I've been training camp for that fight coming up, and I've just been busy. I'm gonna hook you up. I got you, brother. Don't you worry. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's trying to be a funny guy here.
Dude, you're looking pretty handsome today, fella.
It's talking about, you know, America and like getting back. What a great patriot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was, dude. All right, hey, ladies and gentlemen, for PD Pablo, Mr. Joe Sheng, I'm Chris Branson. You guys be good. God bless. We'll see you on the next one.